Greetings, greetings, greetings. We are in the lab. We're in the lab. And thank you for those of you who are joining us right now. You can check us out on Facebook. That's the Julius Hall page. And also go to Our Black Media on YouTube at YouTube. And also go to Roku Television. You'll be able to see us. And we were delayed because of a truck, a semi-tractor trailer truck that decided to turn on the Lesser Avenue off of the Truman. When you all know that should not be happening, and we were stuck there for 6 lights, and Coach Rob Deloach, oh, I'm not going to say anymore. So y'all see who our guest is, our special guest, Coach Rob Deloach. Y'all know Coach Rob Deloach is one of the trainers for me at 2717 and the factory now, and he's also a graduate of Reverend Betty Jones and others, a graduate of the school called Alfred Eli Beach High School. We ain't gonna say nothing about that, but they want to try to change the name to Tompkins Avenue in an honorary street name. They got all these little plans and these little plots going on with regard to that. But I gotta throw this out here right now. I'm gonna say this right now. The person who's on the show, yeah, as I say, everybody on the show is special, and he's been on the show before. But I gotta say this right now, and it's something that I realize, and I want people to clearly understand what's going on. Coach Rob Deloach is an expert regarding recreational team sports for youth, for young people. That's why I wanted to be clear right now. I want everybody to understand that the first time that you hear this, it is on Run Tell That. Coach Rob Deloach is an expert. When I say expert, not just with regard to the mechanics of it, but he's an expert with regards to what needs to be done to improve and help our youth when it comes to recreation, and especially when it's involved in team sports that involves individuality, involving individuals. So I had to put that out there, let folks know that about Coach Rob Deloach, and also put out there regarding Coach Sam Carter also. They are experts. You can go run to somebody else, but I had to acknowledge that today. Don't think I'm going to be saying that again, because he still ain't gave me my T-shirt that I'm deserving of, but I had to at least acknowledge him with regard to that. Coach Rob Deloach, how are you? Oh, wait, and any propaganda that you all saw him post, it was literally propaganda. Propaganda, not propaganda about me when I went into the fields, and also they don't have to go to training. It was propaganda, anything like that. Who trying to tell me it's time? Time ain't up right now. But Coach Rob Deloach, glad to have you, my brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dr. Jamal. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. And,
So,
I only speak the truth. A chocolate shake and a strawberry Fanta going to the field with hot water in the car. I mean, that's a hell of a combination.
oh boy. Yeah, it's going to be one of those evenings on here on Run Tell That. And so, Coach Rob, this is what I got to do. Because some other people want me to say something about it, but I thought, no, it's not best for me to say. I want you to talk about the historical moment that occurred this weekend. And again, I think from Friday, Saturday, maybe even Sunday and Monday, that occurred with regard to young athletes, young people from Savannah, Georgia, Chatham County, Georgia, that were on national television this week, right here, this weekend. Can you share about some of that, what people were able to see? But many people don't realize, they don't hear it, and they ain't see it.
Well, for the most part, it's not going to be publicized, because most of the guys that are on television look like you and I. And the good part is that we have a relationship with these young men, and we support these young men and their families. Have an opportunity to play college football on a national level. Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday night. So I believe it was either 10, probably 12 to 14 kids from Savannah that were actually playing college football on national TV from Thursday to Sunday. It's actually unheard of. And for most part, like I say, for most of the media, they're not going to print that, and nobody's going to talk about it. They only want to talk about the negative part of what our college athletes are doing. And I was fortunate enough to have a son that was playing with 9.1 million viewers on Sunday night where Florida State was playing LSU. So I get it. But unfortunately, our city doesn't support, those types of positive positive news, especially when it comes to the African American athletes.
Okay, and who were some of the young people that were playing that you can think
We
of?
had Dalen Dotson from Jenkins High School was playing against the University of Georgia. My son, Kalen Deloach, Winston Wright, Florida State against LSU. We had James Shellman and DeMonte, Middle Tennessee. We had Quan Dowse, Georgia Tech. We had Eric Hicks from Tulane. We had Jakeem Harris at NC State. We had Omar Burroughs Jr. from Kansas. We had Fuchsius Lewis from Georgia State. Langston Lewis from Central Michigan. That's just to name a few, but I mean, that's what we're doing here in Savannah. And, most of this goes out to my partner in crime, Sam Carter, who has helped develop these young men physically and spiritually and mentally, that they're prepared leaving the city of Savannah for anything that arises them. And if they're not sure, they don't hesitate to pick up the phone to call either of us, and even you, Doc, you know how. So these kids are prepared not only to be successful in the field, but they're also being prepared to be successful in life.
Absolutely. And we, Reverend Alamana, glad to have you here. Rhea Scott, glad to have you. Reverend Betty Jones, glad to have you. And Ross Khan, glad to have you also, because again, people from around the entire world are looking at this show right now. And we got Coach Rob Deloach, who, as I say, who is an expert regarding recreational youth activities, team youth activities, again, around the entire country. And so you heard that the historical moment occurred here. One year, it was like 5 of them. Now this year, it's 10 of them on national television who come from out of Chatham County, Georgia, that some people think that it's not happening. It is happening. And so we want to acknowledge them, that y'all heard them, and they played UGA. They're right there. And here go, and even though they played UT Martin, here go one of our own people from Savannah, Georgia, is making multiple tackles in that game, representing, who went to high school here. You saw them making high schools on Monday night. They are running the ball. They were running on them also when they go, again, from Middle Tennessee. I'm saying, listen, we got to celebrate our young people, and that Coach Rob Deloach is probably one of the people that's most fitting to talk about it, not necessarily me, because he's been immersed in their lives for a long time. So now, Coach, that's what we're going to come down to, that when we talk about youth athletics, we got to get into it with regards to youth athletics. We're looking at, say, on the Chatham County side right now, but those you looking at it from around the entire world, around the entire country, this pertains to you also, because you might think it's just Savannah, but it's something that's around the entire world with regards to this. And so that's why we want to now get into, why is youth athletics important? Why is it even important?
Well, part of it is it helps build the character. Playing sports, regardless of what the sport is, it's going to show you everything in life. You're going to have ups, downs. You're going to have some failures. You're going to have some wins. You're going to have some losses. It helps build relationships, teamwork, leadership. So you want all those attributes as a young person, and it helps you develop, your skill set and your mindset. So I am a believer in playing sports, regardless of what sport it is, because it actually prepares you for the real world. It's going to, like I said, it's going to throw every ball at you that you may have to dodge in your life, and hopefully, you can weather the storm. Particularly in our area, some of our leadership, whether it's with the school board or our city leadership or county leadership, for some reason, they don't see the value in investing back in our young people. And that bothers me because, when I was coming up, we had so many mentors like Bo Levette, we had Coach Holmes, we had, most people call, Freeze out of West Savannah. There's just so many that I don't want to actually leave anybody out. But those guys, Coach Hicks from Camp Park, we just had so many of those, older gentlemen that was given back to us as young people, and particularly those who didn't have fathers in our lives. Our fathers were either in the military, incarcerated, whatever the reason was, we still had those guys stepping in the gap. So I kind of pride myself on, trying to, continue that legacy of filling in the gaps for these young people who parents may not just have the time to give back and kind of show them that there's a way. And sports is a great opportunity, to venture out. So I'm definitely going to continue to raise the bar on the expectations, from our parents especially, but definitely from our leadership that's actually setting agendas and spending this money loosely and not investing back in our kids.
And Junior Ronan, glad to have you. And Reverend Betty Jones went and said she greatly appreciate what the coaches did for her 3 sons. And so, yes, and that's a part of it. And again, around the entire country, we see issues occurring with regards to our youth and having those venues, those opportunities to not expend that energy and also get that development. That again, you heard Coach Deloach talk about what he and Coach Sam Carter do. It's not just with regards to athletics, but also help them develop as becoming responsible and able-bodied citizens in their communities wherever they go. And that's important with regard to that for the development. And Arif Islam, glad to have you join us. So again, we got people around the entire world checking out the show. And so again, we say this is important and it's relevant. So now I want to get into some pros and cons with you, Coach. I want to get into some pros and cons. What are the pros of our youth attending private schools and performing for private schools? What's the pros with regard to that? Attending private schools and performing for private schools. Because we will get into the pros and the cons. So first, I'll come with the pros of them going to private schools, because we see a number of our youth going to private schools and performing at private schools.
Well, part of the pros is that they have better facilities, and they invest they invest back into their football programs. You just look around the country. Football drives everything in college sports. Football. Not the professor. They're not going to Stanford because Dr. Jamal is the professor. They're not going to Florida State because Rob Deloach is a professor. They're not going to University of Georgia because of a professor. They're going there for sports. They're going there for college football. And when you have success at your program, people want to be around success. And our motto is success leaves footprints. So for anybody thinking it's about the academics, you can get academics online now. But it's about being in that culture of being around winning and successful people. And if you have a winning football program, regardless of what level it is, people are going to come and support. Part of the problem with our public schools is that
Coach
there's not a good product.
Coach, we're going to get in there. We're doing it separately, Coach.
I've been on different platforms throughout the day just discussing, some of this. So I'm still kind of wired up from earlier today. So
okay, so we're gonna get into it because on the public side, it's a whole bunch on the public side, and I think we're gonna have to shake some stuff up. So that's why I just see how Jamal like, hey, come to private, and you give them the pros of regards to the private. And y'all heard about facilities, funding, support, and it generates. And does on the private side, does it generate revenue for them, Coach?
Listen, you go to a private school football game in the city of Savannah, you can go for a scrimmage, and you would think that it's a real live game because they're going to put a good product on the field, and part of that product is the kids that come through the youth sports that have been on the other side, and what they have done and been very successful, they've been able to build dynasties at the private schools, just by our other side of the fence not investing back into our community.
And some of, and I just got to put it out there, and some of the stellar athletes, who are they? Because we know it's not, as you call, not you, it's not Bumper and Hawthorne. Who are some of the stellar athletes that are performing at the private schools, Coach?
Well, because we're dealing with young people, I don't want to put their names out there.
All right, I'm saying not the names. I'm just saying, like, what is unique about them? What is like something that's almost common about some of these stellar athletes at these private schools?
Are they African American? Doc, this is the first time in the history of Savannah that we have 6 kids that we train up under the umbrella that have offers from the University of Georgia. 6. And they all attend private schools.
Coach Deloach, what did you just say? You said they attend private schools?
All 6 of them attend private schools.
Okay. You all hear it. We have Coach Rob Deloach, who is an expert regarding recreation for youth involving team sports and, again, their development. So, Coach, now we're going to come to this. What are the cons with regards to the private school and athletics with regards to our youth? Because, again, right now, we're talking about our youth right now, because you all just heard who are some of the stellar athletes. It's not Hawthorne or Bumper or Chet. It is some of ours. So what are some of the cons that from your observation, your years of being involved in this?
Well, Doc, I have one more point on the pros.
Okay, go ahead. Yes, sir. I want you to go ahead and get them on out. Whatever points, then we can go to cons.
The pros for Buzz and Peter and Bumper and Bud is that their parents can afford for them to go to college because they have endowments, that grandpapa that has left, and they got generational endowment money that's going to allow them to go to the university, whether they play sports or not. That's just part of it, but they want to be a part of success. So, and for that 1 or 2 kids that come to the private school, that African American, they're going to get that tuition back from Buzz and Hawthorne and Bumper. That's the trade-off. But you got to be able to play now. They're not going to invest in somebody who can't play.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Coach Rob Deloach, giving the 211, the 411, the 311, the 111 on what it's about. And so with regard to our youth and with regard to recreational and sports activities going on here, that is organized activities for our youth. And again, we're dealing with the private sector right now. So, Coach, what are the cons with regards to them attending and performing at the private schools?
Well, part of the cons is that they're playing against less talented people. Because like I said, all you need is 2 or 3. And, that's about the gist of it. So they don't have to worry about playing Omar and Rah-Rah. They playing against Bumper and Paul and Lil Johnny. So it kind of dumbs down their athletic ability, but they definitely get to showcase it on a grander scale because, and I'm not knocking, the process. It's just what it is in this current state. Right. And every parent is going to do what they think is best for their child. And I don't blame them. Because part of my philosophy is the public schools use them and the private schools use them, the public schools have nothing to offer. And I stand on that. Like I say, you can get education anywhere. But they're gonna have a lot of support. They're gonna have college coaches that come through and spend time at their facilities. They can actually walk out their gymnasium and go to a practice field. They don't have to catch a bus, to go to another facility to showcase their talent. They're gonna have a nice weight room. They're gonna have a meal plan. So when you put that in front of them, it's like dangling the carrot. We go for it. So that's part of it. I don't know necessarily if that's a con, but that's just part of what they're advertising. On top of it, you can get a better education, smaller classrooms. So,
okay, all right. So now we're going to come to this right here. We're going to start out on the other. We're not going to the public. We're going to the public. And what we're going to do to the public, we're going to start out with the cons. The cons regarding the public school athletic experience for our youth. What is the cons regarding that? I say we ain't starting with the pros. We're going to start with the cons. Oh, wait, excuse me, Coach, I stopped. We need to go to a commercial. I just realized we need to go to a commercial. Mr. Producer, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to come back to Coach Rob Deloach, one of our experts with regards to youth recreation, organized team sports around the entire country. So, Mr. Producer, we'll go to a commercial and come back with Coach Rob. We are back. Coach Rob Deloach here on Run Tell That. And so, Coach, now we're discussing about athletics, and we discussed first, in the first half, we discussed about private schools, the pros and the cons. So now we come to the public school side, the public school systems. So we now come to the cons first with regards to for the public schools. What are the cons regarding the public school experience for our young people and athleticism?
It's a con. It's just what it is. It's actually a fraud. It's actually a disgrace to our public school kids that are trying to further their career and, talking about having a platform where they can, go to college and potentially, get a college scholarship, regardless of the sport. Unfortunately, they don't pay the high school coaches enough money to build a program. Secondly, they don't allow outside coaches that are not in the school system to come and be a part of it. And I can just, use myself for example, is that I was told that I personally could not coach because I would be an undue influence because of my name and reputation. And my response to that was, when you hire your administrators and your teachers and your paralegals and all, you try to get the best people for the job. And coaching is no different. You should want to have the best people to work and develop your young people. And if that is the standard, then the public schools are definitely doomed at this rate. So, like I say, the con is that we have to hold our elected officials for the school board and each district accountable for making sure that these kids have the resources to be successful. If you go to a public school game, the attendance is very low because the product is not that good. And that's not a reflection of the kids. The kids want to be able to play, but they want to be able to play on an even playing field. And if the playing field is not going to be equal, then their parents, they're going to look for greener pastures on the other side. So the alternative is either, I made a suggestion, and people take it lightly, is that for the public schools, unless we do something different in football, we probably just need to make an all-city public school football team and go play other teams outside of the city, because there's not enough talent being developed or encouraged to come out and play at my alma mater, Beach High School. Jenkins has 105 players, but they don't have enough coaches to be able to coach 105 kids in 2 hours with 3 or 4 coaches. It's just not going to happen. So it's going to be a lot of standing around, on the sidelines for these kids. So that's a con within itself. And then if you don't have adequate training and nutrition and buy-in from everybody, including the parents, it's just not going to work. And if anybody ever watched football, it's a pretty violent game, and you have to be prepared, physically and mentally, to get through the season, not just one game, but every Friday night for the next 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay. And so there are cons. Is there equality with regards to the programs? So I'm saying with regard to the athletic programs on the public school side, is there equality with regards to that? And when I say equality, I'm talking about the financial element that comes into play from our government with regards to, because again, it's all one government with all these schools, and do we see equality with regards to that? And Reverend Betty Jones said that this helps with regards to our youth. And then you had Antonio Hunter talking about that it looks good on the transfer, the private school experience. And so again, and then also we have Curtis Leroy Nixon when it said he was there when they made that comment to you, Coach. So they went and they bear witness that what Coach Rob Deloach said. Somebody was there, witness there. So now when it comes down to the public schools, Coach, just your thoughts, your observation. Is there, and with anyone out there looking at the show, you can go get the information because this is public information. So do we see equality with regards to how funds are dispersed throughout? I'm just going to say, and with regard to facilities.
No, it's not even remotely close. Allen's, unfortunately, probably has one of the worst football teams in the city of Savannah, but they have some of the better facilities. And when I went to the school board meeting 3 weeks ago, they were being awarded additional $2.5 million for improvement to their facilities. And then you look across town at Johnson, they don't have a practice field. You know, they're being bused over to one of the local parks to be able to practice. You look at New Hampstead, who probably has the largest school in the district, and they don't have a practice field. And that school is not that old. And so you look across the board, Windsor Forest is still practicing on grass. Groves doesn't even have a field. They're practicing at a middle school, the old Mercer in Garden City. Savannah High actually has a nice stadium and a nice practice field. But, you know, like I tell parents and people who elect these school board representatives, you got to hold them accountable. You got to show up to the meetings. You got to pick up the phone and call them and ask them, why don't our school look like Islands or Savannah High? Because they're not going to do it. I've had several school board members tell me that if the community is not pushing, the principal is not pushing it, then it's not a priority to them. And I'm thinking it should be a standard across the board.
Wow. I'm going to say this, what you were saying now is absolutely shocking. Anyone listening to this, again, this is applicable to people around the entire country. Think about your school board members, your school board representatives, and with regards to, are they making that push? Because Coach Deloach, you just want to say something that if the principals and the others, and if the parents in the community are not pushing for it, they're not going to do anything. It's like almost like, yo, if you just want to suffer through it all, we're just going to let you suffer through it. We're not going to come in and save you and help you. It's powerful. And some of y'all may not pick up on something, and I want to go back to this. You said that Groves practices at Mercer. And on another show we were on, I had shared folks about that they had a losing streak for years at Groves, and some people laughed at it. I'm like, do you not know how detrimental that is to the psyche of some young people that they want to be out there? But when now, if you now understand that if the young people at Groves have to practice at Mercer, but I think there's a little bit more to that about Mercer. So I want you, if you can put that out there also with regard to the young people, football players, how the practice is at Groves. Where do they practice? They practice at Mercer, but how do they practice? What do they practice in?
Well, for the basketball guys, they practice in a not even a regulation basketball court. I think for most of the middle schools, the courts are not 94 feet. I believe they're more like 80, less than regulation. So when you're talking about football players, 50 to 60 to 70 players, not even a football player, what is the band practice? I was told today that the band at New Hampstead practices in the cafeteria. So it's bigger than football. You know, we look at the football, but what about the auxiliaries? In our days, there's no way a Beach High School band could practice in the cafeteria at Beach. You know, we had to have our own field because we had 100 or 200 band members, you know, at the band during those days. So all of this, I say, is a reflection of of sports. If you have a good football team, then you don't have the fights in the stands when you go to the football games, because most of those kids, if they're not playing football, they're in the band, they're in cheerleading, they're on the flag. You know, they're being involved in building up the morale of their school. But when you embrace a losing attitude and it starts at the top, well, we're not encouraging these kids and showing them that, you know, the success, then nobody wants to be a part of it. You know, we get distractions because the product on the field doesn't look good. And any place that I've been to, when there's a good football team, people are cheering for their team.
And I think, I'm gonna come to this right here, throw it out there. At least one of the things I heard that Groves practice inside the gym at Mercer. They practice
well, if
inside.
It rains, they have no choice.
And I want some of the people out there, some of the fathers looking at this right now, some of the mothers looking at this right now. Did you hear what Coach Rob Deloach just shared and what I just shared? That Groves High School football team practice at Mercer, but they practice inside the gym. That was astonishing to me with regards to that. Astonishing, and I was flabbergasted by that. and frightened by that. How can they perform on this field? Okay, yes, sir.
You know, you're talking about just the high schools. When I was coaching middle school sports, and I'll just use one of the middle schools on the east side, off of Gwinnett Street. We never had adequate fields. I mean, the grass was never cut, the field was never lined. We had to deal with the ant beds over there, and it's like, I mean, how do you expect these kids to be successful when the playing ground is not even? But I can go across the bridge on the island, and everything is lined, it's tapered up. You don't have to deal with the ant beds. You don't have to deal with the potholes in the field. So there's definitely, you know, there's a difference in how people, you know, view our inner city kids versus, you know, the outer limit schools, and that's representation. You know, I don't hold that against the person that represents that district. If I'm him or her, I want the best for my district because that's what the people are telling me.
Right.
So while we are talking about the school board president and the superintendent, it starts with the people you elected to represent you in your district. Hold them accountable. Pick up their phone, call them 24/7. They're supposed to be accessible, and we have to understand that they work for us, and you know, and we don't work for them. Hold them accountable.
Yes, absolutely. And Curtis Nixon, he went and said, "What's the base salary for head coaches head coaches here in Chatham County? What's the base salary with regard to that?" And also to us, say, why don't they bus the players from Groves over to the old Scott Middle School field for them to practice on? But Coach, what's the base salary if you know what the base salary is for head coaches here?
Well, I think it's a stipend. You know, I think it's a stipend. Maybe I don't want to be. It may be $10,000 or $12,000, but at the same time, you have to spend that money up with the people that you hire to help you.
Okay.
And you're talking about from June to maybe December that you're with these kids. Saturday, Friday night, Saturday. You prep. You know, you prepping, looking at film on Sunday. Then you right back at class. Then you got practice again. So that's a lot. That's a lot of time to invest in these people, and some of these coaches have family. So from a financial standpoint, it's not a whole lot of money when you break it down for the amount of time that you have to spend and prepare for these kids.
Okay.
And a lot of guys I know that be willing to just volunteer their time because they want to see these kids be successful on and off the field.
So you know people that will volunteer their time?
Oh, of course. Hell, I would volunteer my time. But I just can't commit to it because on Friday night I'm going to see my son.
Right.
So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know.
Yes, sir. So now we're going to do this. And the pros this is going to be different with regard to the pros. What are the pros, but what are solutions to bring up for us to have the pros? You know, what are the current pros that you know of on the public school side, the pros, and then what are some solutions that could be pros for us on the public school side?
Well, some of the pros are school is free. You know, you don't have to pay a tuition. You're gonna get lunch. You know, you don't have to. Your parents don't have to drop you off to school to pick you up. For most part, that's probably one of the benefits. You get opportunity. You know, for me, I think education is education. It all depends on the individual. You can get education anywhere. And I'm definitely a proponent of free education. Some of the pros that could be is that if we invest our dollars correctly, we could have some nice facilities. We can bring some of our kids back to our public schools because what's happening, the other schools are recruiting them in the 5th and 6th grade. Because they have, you know, they have facilities and people take it for granted. And they say, oh, well, I get a better education. No, for most part, the pros is when you have to leave a private and come to a public, you're already behind because that curriculum that align up with, you know, college credits and things like, and I can't say that's all of them, but a lot of kids in my experience, when they left the private sector and came to the public, they were behind.
Okay. All right.
So Doc, when you're talking about building a great public school program, part of the problem is it's only 2 schools that actually have stadiums. And for the boosters that want to be involved and help raise money, you can only do that at Savannah High, and you can only do that at Islands. So, for example, if Jenkins and Savannah and Windsor were playing at Islands or Savannah High, their boosters, these parents cannot use those concessions to generate funds. Because if you go to Savannah High, the logo is a blue jacket in the middle of the field. And those parents, the booster parents for Savannah High, will be running those concession stands, even if their team is not playing. Same thing with Islands. If you go to Islands and play, and Islands doesn't have a home game, those booster parents from Islands will be running concession. That is so unfair. That we say these are district stadiums, but they don't get to share the revenues if it's not their home stadium. So Beach alumni can never raise money at any of the public school stadiums. They can't raise money at the Chatham County, and they definitely can't raise money in Pooler. So the only one boosters that can actually generate funds are Islands and Savannah High.
Coach Rob Deloach, y'all hearing him on Run Tell That. Information that's being put out there. And this is applicable. You might think it's just a Chatham County matter, but I want all of you who are checking out the show from around the entire country, around the entire world, look and see if you may have something similar happening to you in your own front yard and your own backyard. So, yes, indeed. And so we're going to go to a commercial and come back with Coach Rob Deloach. We'll go to a commercial. Mr. Producer. We're back with Coach Rob Deloach. And so now, as I shared, this is around the entire country. We got people looking at around the entire world. So Coach Deloach, I want to ask you, since we're in Chatham County, what is it like in some of the other counties? Do you know something about some of the other counties? What do some of the other counties do? And how do we fare, say, compared to them in Chatham County? Since Savannah is the largest city in coastal Georgia, and Chatham County is the largest county in coastal Georgia. So I just want to know with the other counties that you might know what they do with regard to recreation, youth activities, organized sports.
Coach, you can drive from down 17 to Richmond Hill. And while we're procrastinating about building stadiums and putting turf fields down in 2023, the next move is building indoor facilities. Richmond Hill, next county over, is building an indoor facility for football, because football is king. When you go to the Richmond Hill game, it's a one county school, and everybody comes out on Friday night to support their school. So that generates a lot of funds that allows them to do other things when it comes to athletics and resources. And on top of that, they're a 7A school, so they have at least 25 to 3,000 kids that attend that school. You can go to Effingham County where they're building, if I'm not mistaken, they already have a sports complex. So kids in Effingham County, have outlets, not only for the high school kids, but for the youth kids. So you go across the bridge to Hardyville, Hilton Head, they have complexes. And that's the wave of the country. Now, if we go up North Georgia, Gwinnett County, Buford High School is building a $60 million football stadium. $60 million stadium for football in Buford County. And, like I've been expressing, how the state of Georgia, with the University of Georgia winning 2 national championships back to back, and on the cusp of winning a third, generates so much money for the state.
Mm.
And that money has to be distributed somewhere. And when you're talking about kids playing at the next level, they want to go to places that have facilities. Fortunate enough, Savannah has been a hotbed from 2019 to 2023, but the kids that are being highly recruited, unfortunately, are not coming from the public schools. Because we don't have the facilities, we don't have the resources, we don't have the support, we don't have the relationships. And if you don't have relationships in this day and age, whether it's through social media, emails, text, Instagram, picking up the telephone, then you're kind of behind the power curve. This is not 1970 when people are typing. No, you got to be able to pick up the phone and build some relationships with college coaches across America. We're not bragging, but Sam and I have been able to build relationships with college coaches to be able to look at the kids that come from the gym, allow them to go back to their schools and do their school work, do their school workouts, perform at a high level. But we have a relationship where we can, at any given moment, we can pick up the phone and call the college coach that they or their parents may be interested in talking to about the process. And that's just through relationships.
Okay. And so you brought up something you discussed. You talked about relationships. You talk about relationships you have with college coaches around the entire country right now. You have relationships with them around the entire world. And what are they looking for, Coach? What are they looking for, these coaches? What are some of the things that you found and that you try to infuse with the young people who come into your atmosphere and the atmosphere of Coach Sam Carter?
Well, part of it is, I saw somebody comment about the private schools. No, they will recruit from the public schools. The resume for a public school, if the resume for a private school transcript, it just says that your family can afford for you to go to college. So when you say that you have private school on your transcript, then that may be an opportunity that they don't give your son all of the money that is due from their financial aid or their scholarship. Because they say, mom and dad, if they can afford for them to go to private school, why do we need to offer them 100% scholarship when we can give this kid that come from a single family home from a public school who needs more resources? And they'll defer your money on the back end. So if you can play, private or public, and you got good grades are good grades. It's just what it is. And I'm just speaking from experience. The transcript doesn't say, they want to know whether you passing or not. So whether you went to Beach High School or any other private school really doesn't matter. As long as the grades and you qualify to get into college and you pass the standardized testing, then it doesn't really matter.
Okay. We have Curtis Leroy Nixon. He went and said he had volunteer coached last year at Woodville Tompkins, and that they then hired a new coach and he didn't get a call. But he kind of indicated that he just can't go and do this for free. And so what's your thoughts with regards to the event, a certified lay coach? What are some of the things, what advice and what are the things that we need to take in and appreciate regarding the certified lay coaches?
Well, part of it in the state of Florida, you can be a head coach and not be an administrator at the school.
Okay. That's in the state of Florida.
Yes, the state of Florida, you got to think, they produce a lot of professional athletes. So when those guys are retired from the NFL and they want to come back and coach, you're not going to tell a professional guy that he can't come back to his community and coach. But in Savannah, Chatham County, we want to be able to tell you what you can and cannot do, and don't have the experience or the knowledge to understand what that value brings to your school and what that value brings to your program.
Okay.
Because if you've never played the game, how can you speak on the game or talk the terminology and teach these kids the game? Not only the game of football, but the game of life.
Coach Rob Deloach, I'm letting you know we run into a problem right now. We run into a problem. we run into a problem, and I'm letting you know the problem is tied to you, is connected to you. And to all of you out there, huh?
I like John Lewis. I like good trouble.
Okay. There's so much that the audience, and some of them may not be picking up on it. To the audience out here, some of the stuff that Coach Rob Deloach is sharing is valuable information. And Coach Deloach, I don't think that I can really get into all the stuff I want to get into in this one show right here. We run into a problem. I'm going to ask you, Coach Deloach, before everybody out here, the over 380 people looking at the show right now, I'm going to say to you, Coach Deloach, can you come back on next week for us to do a part 2? Because there's some other things I want to get into, because I realize I'm going through the stuff. I'm like, I can't even get into some of it that I think is pertinent and relevant for some of the adults out here checking out the show to not understand. Because you say something about Florida, because we need to talk about Texas, California, Georgia, Florida, and then you had threw it out there that some people don't understand about UGA and what you talk about with regards to Buford. And I'm just saying that based on information that you had shared with me, Coach Carter has shared with me, then you talk about how when you have a winning football team, what that creates, how it creates leadership. Coach Deloach, we ain't got but about 10 more minutes, 7 to 10 more minutes, and I know for a fact we can't get into it. So I'm throwing it out there right now for everybody. Can you come on next week?
Dr. Jamal, anything to help build our community and motivate our parents to get more involved in the future of our future leaders, I'd be more than welcome to come back anytime, because I think it needs to be told that we have some of the most talented kids in America. And for the University of Georgia to offer 6 of our kids, that says a testament of their parents and their commitment. And we have something to offer.
Yes.
And there's so many other kids that are out there, they just don't have the platform or the support, to get that out of them. And when you're not around successful people and people are not talking positively to you and encouraging you, then we see, our crime is up. Our incarceration is up. There's so many distractions out there, and for me, I definitely don't want to see our young people. And I shared a story, and I'm gonna let you go on this. When I was coaching youth sports, and a kid turned 13 years old, and we had him from 5 to 12, and when he turned 13, and football was over, by March he had killed somebody, and now is serving a life sentence. At 13 years old, same age as my son, he's 21, and he has a life sentence. He did it at 13, stayed in the juvenile system until he was 17, and he's been in prison from 17, and he's currently there, for 20 years. So there's some value in this young man. I love him like he's one of my sons, because he had been with our program so long, and then he kind of slipped through the cracks. So just make a note. We need to talk about what happened from the middle school to high school. Make a note. And that's where we lose our kids from the age 12 to 14.
And Coach, that's one of the things, and that's why I know we can't even fully get into all of that, because I'm like, it is so much that, again, to all of you checking out the show, we're going to have a part 2 with Coach Deloach. We're going to be getting even deeper in some of this right here. But one thing Coach said something, I'm going to say that Coach Deloach, you ain't about to get me killed down there in Bryan County. That you got Bryan County High too. You got Bryan County High too. So people in Alabama, don't come at me. I ain't had said it's a one school county. I ain't had say that. Richmond, you got Richmond Hill, and on that northern side, you got Bryan County High. So don't come after me. Coach Deloach said that. Coach Deloach said that. Coach Deloach said that. Not me.
Hey,
he said.
One of my best friends is a high school coach for the girls basketball team at Bryan County, and he would attest that they don't have the same facilities as Richmond Hill. So he understands as well. So, and they, traditionally have had a good football program. But if people on the other side of the county, just like here in Chatham County, if just one side of the county is going to have all the facilities and everybody else being quiet, then it's the same problem.
Oh,
but it takes the elected officials and the parents blowing up their phone 24/7, 7 days a week, email them, asking for responses in a timely manner. That's what it's going to take.
And so you all just heard what Coach Deloach said. He said that it's Bryan County, and Bryan County parents need to be doing the same thing. And that's why Richmond Hill can do that. And remember, I told y'all that you might be thinking like, this is just a Savannah, Chatham County show right here. No, it's not. This is us around the entire country. We see disparities with regards to recreational sports for our youth, and also just like we throw it out there. And now we're going to explore more with regards what the significance of the bands and all the other elements, from the cheerleaders to the drill team, the flag members, all of that, how all that is important and how it helps with regards to development of leadership in your schools. And that's part of the elements. So next week we need to talk about, again, the 8th grade the middle school going on up. So again, this is what we need to talk about. And that again, it's not just here. You think it's just a local thing? You are missing out right now. This is around the entire country, because I saw a few, which I sent a clip to you and Coach Carter, whereas you got kids playing on grass that appeared to be at least 6 to 7 inches high, playing, and the fields are not even marked. If it was a practice or a game, something that again, and they had some officiating out there that here go, and those kids look just like this right here, lighter and darker, looking just like this right here, and they're on the grass. And some people made a comment and said, why is nobody cut the grass? Why is the grass not being maintained? So this people from around the country, and that wasn't here. I think it was in Florida. That again, it is stunning that we have this happening, this going on. And so that's why we got to have somebody like Coach Rob Deloach out there who's speaking about some of this right here. And some of this stuff is extremely important because, again, what they are doing, they're getting folks to go to college. And so, Coach, we got into the cons and the pros with regard to public schools and the private schools. But then also, it is something that you had shared, and that's why we're going to be basically wrapping it up. You got as much time to talk about it. Like, I don't want you to think that you'll rush about it. You had said something that we have some of our athletes, again, right around the entire country, they play professional sports, basketball, football, baseball, soccer, tennis. They play these sports, and then they have camps. They have the football camp, the basketball camp, the baseball camp. They have all the camps. But you said something that what you have said, like in the very beginning, y'all see how we weave some of this together. See, some of y'all don't understand that magic that we be engaging in. In the very beginning, Coach Deloach mentioned about you got 10 young people who on national television who are playing football. D1, playing D1 football, playing Power 5 football. Now, here go the deal. You had indicated that when they come back here, you said that they're going to have camps. But what type of camp did you say they're going to have?
They're going to have football camps, but unfortunately, Doc, they can't go back to their old public school and host a camp. We just been fortunate enough to be able to invite these kids back, Sam and I, and we do a free camp every year where they come back and give back to the kids in the community. And we're going to continue to do that as long as we keep putting out a good product and kids are going back to college and they're willing to come back to their city. One last thing, Doc, before our time run out. For those who live here locally in Savannah, if you want to see some disparity, ride to Myers Middle School. I coach baseball over there. And for the last 10 or 15 years, there have not been bases, there has not been a pitcher's mound, there has not been a line field for the kids to play baseball at Myers Middle School. Just ride by there and you can see it. And then you take a ride to Coastal Middle School and you'll see they have a nice complex. So okay. I'm looking forward to coming back down.
No, Coach. What I wanted to get into, you had said this. What you had said when Kayla and them come back, they're gonna do an engineering camp.
Yes, we're working on what we call the Factory 2.0. Well, we're going to open up avenues for kids that want to pursue engineering, and it's going to be free. Where they'll be able to go to college, not for football scholarships, but they're going to be able to get engineering scholarships to predominantly HBCU schools and some of the PWI schools. So we'll be, soliciting the parents, because I tried to interject this program into some of the public schools, but I've yet to hear back from some of the board administrators that claim that they would reach back out, and they've been in school now, 5 weeks, 6 weeks? I don't want to put them on blast, but eventually, if they don't, then I'll just call the name out, because that's the only way you can actually get a response, when you start calling the names and the titles.
All right. And so that's why I want you all to hear that, and then we're going to have further conversation. But I thought it was important for you all to hear, because Coach Deloach, but he said to me, he was like, yeah, so-and-so come back to the camp, so-and-so to the football camp. He was like, why don't they come back and do a math camp? Say, but they're going to come back here. They're going to do an engineering camp, a math camp, a reading camp, all that. I was like, when he said that, I was like, yo, that's real right there. And guess what? That's not just for us here. Imagine that around the entire country. That now, that's what some of these athletes who play professional sports, that they not come back and not just have a camp for the sport, but not an academic camp also that's tied to you. So it's not just with regard to the football, baseball, basketball, the soccer, the tennis, the golf. Guess what? Now you do a camp that's also academic, provide another avenue for our people. That is powerful. And you have heard it first here on Run Tell That with Coach Rob Deloach. That's why he said it to me. I want to get that on out. I want y'all to hear that, because I like to always be the first one to throw out some of this enlightening stuff that let it be known that, hey, you might hear some other place, but you can go back and say, no, I heard that first on Run Tell That with Coach Rob Deloach.
So, Jamal, we kicking down barriers, man. We can't be stopped. We like Puffy, man. We can't be stopped. Won't stop. We're gonna do our best to help empower our community and our young people by any means necessary.
And guess what, Coach? Reverend Betty Jones say a lot of this could happen at the fairgrounds. And that's right, Reverend Betty Jones. That the fairgrounds could be a place for us. Can you wait a minute? Can you imagine having maybe even an indoor facility over there? Can you imagine having a recreational facility right there that belongs to everybody, that truly belongs to us? Can we not have a partnership of the city and the school board with regards to that? That's like a eureka moment. That's what we do on Run Tell That. I'm like, wait a minute.
No, because the city is going to sell out the scab.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord, Jesus. Okay. Reverend Betty Jones said that's in fact what they have asked for. Okay. So we're going to be moving on with regard to this has been Run Tell That with Coach Rob Deloach. Part 1, we're going to come back to part 2 and get into more of this right here and delve more with regard to our youth, how to make changes, how to improve the lives of them, but then also our community and how to become leaders throughout the entire world. And again, Coach Rob Deloach, glad to have you on here. And this is Run Tell That. We'll see you all next week. Part 2 in the house. Peace and blessings.
like that.